Hello, I am Paula Bennett and welcome to my New Zealand Herald podcast, Ask Me Anything. Now, one thing I've learnt in life is it's never too late to learn something new. So on this podcast, I talk to people from all walks of life to hear about how they got to where they are, get some advice and guidance on some of life's biggest questions. And would you believe it? We've reached the end of season 3 already. You know I like to go out with a bang, so my guest today is none other than broadcaster extraordinaire Paul Henry. Paul is back in New Zealand for his upcoming reality TV show, The Traitors New Zealand, which is set to screen on 3 in early August. Paul, hello. It's great to see you.
It's lovely to see you, Paula.
It's been a couple of years.
It has. It has been a couple of years. But we've both managed, we've both scraped through, haven't we?
We've done okay.
We've done all right.
I'll just hit to a little piece of advice that I've taken from you, which is I now put bacon strips in my Bloody Mary.
It just adds a spectacular frisson of savouriness to the Bloody Mary.
And a bit of salty.
Beautiful.
You know, so like I've just broken all the rules of the podcast and just gone straight to a little bit of advice.
No, I love that you've done that. I've got in that last book, I put the recipe for Bloody Mary, and oh my God, the bacon is singly the most important
It's got to be
aspect.
very crispy, by the way, so anyone
Like
listening
American
in that's
bacon,
interested. Yeah, it's going to be American bacon, very, very crispy, so it kind of stands up in it. Anyway, so there you go. Okay, I've got 2 housekeeping rules. One is that I'm allowed to ask you anything, but you don't have to answer, of course. You can ignore me. And second, I call it the safe space. So your daughter will like this because my daughter likes it. We go no judgy.
Okay. It's impossible not to be judgy, but what you mean is we don't overtly appear judgy. Well, inside we think, Jesus Christ.
Or my daughter and I will go, oh my goodness, that's an interesting colour on her and that she's chosen to wear that. But no judgy.
Okay. So having been very judgmental, you say no judgy and
it's all
okay.
So-and-so's sleeping with such and such that then's broken up there.
They're
but
not.
No judgy.
No, fair enough.
But interesting.
Yeah, bloody interesting. Interesting enough to mention it.
Yes. As you do. Okay, quick fire questions. Who would you have on your boat that you would find interesting? Because it's different on a boat to a dinner party.
No, it's very different. It's very different. Because you are trapped. Yeah. I mean, obviously, so many people. But, you know, I'm going to fall back. I don't even know if she's still alive. Madeleine Albright. Oh, do you know, I always had a thing for Madeleine Albright. You know, there were very few people that could literally step down the boarding platform of a Hercules and end a war just with her eyes.
Yeah. Angela Merkel would be a bit the same, wouldn't she? That fiercely intelligent.
She does have that vibe. But there was something about Madeleine that, for those first few steps, as she came out the door, first couple of steps, you think, oh, look at her, what a darling. By the time she got to the bottom, you would have been in terror.
And don't you think that in the right circumstance, she'd have had a gin and a giggle?
Yeah.
Which is,
absolutely. Oh, she'd be wicked
she'd
fun.
Be fun.
She'd be wicked fun.
Yeah.
I never had a lot of time for Condoleezza Rice. I just didn't as a Secretary of State, but Madeleine Albright, my God.
Someone that exercises as much as Condoleezza did. They're always worried me.
Apparently, world-class pianist.
Oh, there you go.
Apparently.
Do you cook?
Is this a rapid-fire question?
Yeah, it's my second one. I don't go into many.
No. And I mean, that's like saying, do you play the piano? I mean, everyone can play the piano if you've got fingers. Well, you can play it. Actually, I've seen people play it with toes. We won't go there. So do I cook? I mean, no.
No.
I mean, I can if I was forced to, like if it was life or death, but no. And what would I cook anyway?
Yeah. That someone else couldn't cook better, to be quite blunt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, I'd almost rather starve than cook.
As long as you have red wine, right? Okay, generally what we do is we get to know you and talk a bit in the first half, and then the second half...
And then, boom, you go straight in like a killer dog.
You then give advice to everyone.
Oh, I can do that now if you want.
No.
Oh, okay, fine.
No.
You've got a format, sorry. Respect the format.
We're going to ease into the advice segment, which I am looking forward to, I've got to say. Okay, so you're back in New Zealand and you've been filming The Traitors New Zealand.
Yes.
I did get a sneak preview.
Did you enjoy it?
I loved it.
Great.
I just loved it. I mean, you sort of call it a sort of murder mystery, don't you? And,
yes.
You know, and it is kind of that, isn't it?
Well, it's a mystery. And the thing that I love about it, because I only did it because I love the format. I'm not a reality television sort of person because, of course, you know, the genre is called reality, but most of them are a million miles away from reality in that it's so orchestrated. One of the things I liked about this format is the star, not the host or the contestants. And the contestants' decisions individually are what determine the fate of the show.
Yeah.
Once that show starts, you can't say, oh, it's bad weather today, we can't do today. You can't say, oh, no, let's redo that. Once it starts, the show has a life of its own. So you genuinely are seeing what really happens. And for the host and the producers, we have a few tools whereby we can slightly guide it, but there is nothing we can do to influence the decisions of the contestants.
Okay.
And those decisions determine the direction of the game.
You're perfect for it, though.
Oh, thank you.
I
do. Well, I love it. I love lording it up over people.
Yeah.
I love knowing stuff other people don't know. And in fact, that was one of the hard things with it because I'm walking around there and I'm essentially in character all the time. I don't talk to any of the contestants unless I have to, you know, on screen. But you're walking around thinking any number of the things I know could entirely destroy this game if I let something slip, because it is all based on mystery, the mystery that the contestants live in. And it is literally 24/7 for the contestants. It preys on their mind, and you see it getting, as the show develops, you see the intrigue just increasing in their minds. There is no one they can trust.
Yeah. Interesting having celebrities, if you like, in the context of that word in New Zealand, and non-celebrities, so that mix of people as well, haven't you?
Yeah. I mean, when I first heard that we were doing it that way, it disappointed me because at the end of the day, everyone will be equally invested in every contestant. There will be cast members who you like, who you don't like, which has nothing to do with whether you came in with a preconceived idea, because you become totally invested in the game that these people are playing and you live vicariously through those people. So, I mean, I thought myself that there was a negative side to people having preconceived views of these celebrities that were involved. The program does not need celebrities.
No, it doesn't. And I found myself, liking people. And
you become just as
them.
invested in the people you didn't know as the ones. Yeah.
That's right. It's been a huge hit overseas, isn't it? So internationally, and so bringing it to New Zealand.
Yes.
So it's what got you back for a while? Because you travel everywhere,
I was phoned up. South Pacific Pictures phoned me and said, look, we're doing this program. And I was just there rehearsing my no, which I just say to everything. And then they said, we've just emailed you the British series. Before you say anything, we want you to host it, just watch it. And I phoned up halfway through the first episode and said, I'll do it. Because it's just such a good format.
Yeah. Has it given you a thirst to do more TV work?
Absolutely not. Well, you're in that wonderful
position where you can choose what you do, right? And
then but I've chosen not to do anything.
No.
Because I don't even know what I do. I just live. I cobble things together. But it's quite nice. It's a sort of luxury to be able to all of a sudden pick things up and do something like this.
Yeah.
But it's still, it reminds me, though, of what a bind it is working, what a bind it is having to do it. I always used to describe my career as, a joy to do, a horror to have to do. And to do it properly, you have to put yourself in the position where you have to do it. You have to get up at 0:00 every morning, 5 days a week, if you're going to do a great breakfast show, and you take that through any facet of life. If you're doing a good talk show, you have to read the papers every day. You have to be super informed. So it's a joy to be able to do it. It's a nightmare to have to do it.
Yeah. I think I know a lot about politics, and I've been asked to, do some work during the election and that's something. And I was like, oh, gosh.
Enough already.
I'm going to have to really follow it.
Did you say no?
And I haven't really
You didn't,
followed
did you?
it.
You said yes. See, you said yes. Well, that's a mistake. You should have just said, no, look, I've done that.
But with all respect, Paul, there's not that many centre-right sensible people that can actually
Well, are there
speak
any?
on TV. You're talking to one now.
Oh, sorry. But does
it.
it matter?
No.
Actually, know, in the great scheme of things, Paula, and this is the thing, does it actually matter?
It turns out I still give a damn about this country and where it's heading. So there you go. Okay, a very varied career. That's how I'm going to put it. It is though, isn't it?
Eclectic.
So what have you loved? What's been a favourite?
That's a good question, which is almost impossible to answer. I love the fact that it's been varied. I remember when the first time I lost my job famously on TVNZ, and everyone was very sort of, not everyone, because a lot of people didn't like me, but, a lot of people there were very sympathetic. Oh, God, you've lost your job. It's opportunity.
Yeah.
Opportunity sometimes just comes knocking, and most people ignore the knock. But other times, opportunity bursts through the door and you're fired. And that happened to me multiple times. And, you've got to embrace that. And so people were saying, oh, God, and you think, what do you think a measure of success is? How long you can do the same thing? Do you want to spend, the next 10 years? Would you be more successful if you spent the next 10 years in the same building at the same time doing the same thing? No, that to me is disaster, but it is the line of least resistance for most people.
Well, and isn't it, even this morning, someone at work was saying, oh, you must have, travelled a lot for work, Asian countries, how did you go about organising your visa? And I went, oh, I didn't organise my visa. No. I had MFAT for that, and I was on important
New
Zealand.
People.
I had people.
Yes.
And they went, well, God, how do you cope now? And I went, because that was a point in time.
Yeah.
And it was fun when it was there, and it's fun that it's not.
Yeah.
Hey, people that live
you move on. You move on. Which is why you should have said no to whoever said to you, can you come and help us win the election? You should have just said no. I did that. I helped win elections, and now I've got this glittering career. I've moved on with my life.
I get to talk to people like Paul Henry.
That is success, though. Success is moving on.
Yeah, it is.
No,
it is. That's good advice. We're not all good at saying no all the time.
No can be a very hard thing to say.
Yeah, very. It's election year. Do you start to take a bit more interest? Does journalism itch to have you back? And would you think about coming in and doing something in the next few months?
No, because I hate to do anything when I'm ill-informed, and I'm not interested enough to be as informed as I would want to be a commentator. Having said that, I obviously am sufficiently informed to be a voter, like all sufficiently informed intellectuals in this country, or even just people that are modestly intelligent. I am very concerned with the country at the moment. I was going to say with the way it's going, but it is the way the world is going.
And you would see it coming back in like that. So, you get to step away, and then it must be when you come back in, you're like, whoa,
but also you just see the decisions that are made, and, what have we got to be proud of in this country now? And I know that sounds like really negative, but what have we got to be proud of? What can we look back on in the last 3, 4, 5 years and say, my God, that was a good decision? What a plucky country we've got that we did that. I can't think of anything. I cannot think of anything.
The thing I'm most proud of in the last 12 months was how our women rugby players went. Isn't that ridiculous? And I'm not a big sports person.
But those sort of things, went well in spite of.
No, of course.
Rather than because of.
Yeah, no, of course.
Yeah. But, what decisions have been made that have resulted in something that we can take some pride in, that we can look at? I mean, okay, so I don't want to crank on about politics, but COVID was an opportunity. Everything is presented as COVID was like TVNZ saying goodbye to you. You'd intended to stay there for another 10 years, just mucking through, but all of a sudden you had to make a change. So here we had a government that could borrow limitlessly, and no one was going to question their borrowing. What people were going to question was how they chose to invest the money that they borrowed.
Yeah.
So we borrowed, what was it, 60 billion?
Yeah,
was it? I don't want to turn this into a political show, but you're here, so it is. So we borrowed 60 billion ballpark. what have we got to show for it?
Well, I was going to say we've got the Puhoi motorway, but then the front page of the paper says it's slipping away, which is not funny.
Well, you know, Dome Valley, why are you laughing then?
Because
Dome Valley, because it wasn't your government that did it, Dome Valley sort of flooded about the day after it was opened.
Yeah.
It was like literally, it had to be repaired like the day after it opened.
And the front page of the paper today is just that it's slipping, the new motorway highway that we were all a little bit, there's something, wahoo, and it's slipping away.
I mean, it's just, I don't know. You've got me started, and it's a shame because I am genuinely quite negative on this.
But I was going to say you're generally a positive person.
Well, so my positive response to it is to mostly live overseas.
Yeah. Wow.
Because what else can you do? You know, you can
sit around being grumpy all the time.
Bang away being grumpy, and you can moan, and you can do what, what's his name, the property developer, Bob Jones. You know, you can write really entertaining articles, but it's not going to achieve anything.
No.
People will read it, and people that agree with them will go, yeah, that's right. And people that don't won't read it. But at the end of the day, is it going to change anything?
And
no.
You've always been polarising, but the country is becoming more and more and more, and you can't actually have an opinion in the middle or change your mind because you're either far right or you're far left, and there's...
And people can't be bothered to express their opinions anymore because they know it won't make any difference.
Yeah.
You know, the sickest society is a society where people are too frightened to speak their mind. Absolutely, that is the sickest society. And unfortunately, a country like New Zealand, because it is small, pivots very quickly.
Yeah.
You know, we sit there in that and it will pivot very quickly. And people will say, oh, well, Australia's a court case. Yes, it is. The United States, oh my God, talk to me about it. But they're big ships to move. They turn very slowly. And during a turn, you know, they can turn the other way. But New Zealand isn't. It just flips on a dime.
Yeah, it does. It does. I find it really interesting because in this series of my podcast, I have had Sir John Key, Dame Julie Christie, Sir Michael Hill, and they've all come from very modest beginnings, and all three of them have been just hugely successful. And I can kind of put you in that camp as well.
Although I haven't been knighted, and that is one of the greatest anomalies politically in this country.
Isn't it?
It seems, when you mention those people, it seems inconceivable that I haven't been knighted.
But there's time.
You know what I don't think there is for me? I think that boat has sailed.
I can't make comment, surely.
No. Oh, do you know something I don't?
Oh.
Shit, do you? Okay, I'll stay at home and wait for the call.
Although we're going to talk later about how to be a traitor, so that might put a bit of a dent against you. Do you look back at that success though? And I mean, like Julie Christie's always said, I'm still scared of poor. You know, because she'd never had money and obviously she's just so driven and so smart.
Yeah. You see, now that's quite interesting, and I get that, and I've got some friends like that. But I can't imagine I would ever be poor again. So I'm not scared of poor. I'm almost scared of rich. You know, I cannot take the cost of things for granted. People in my family and my extended family find it humorous how concerned I get about the cost of things and wastage and, well, why are we doing that? You know, well, do we really need to do the garden over again? It was only done last year. This kind of thing, you know. And because I remember how hard it was. And I was, I mean, you can do that whole thing where, you know, I was poorer than you. And you know that wonderful skit? You know, oh, we lived in a shoebox in the middle of a swamp. You had a shoebox?
Yeah.
But I mean, my mother and I really were poor. And I just remember that. And I'm not frightened of ever being there again, but I'm frightened of spending the kind of money that I spend on things that are so extraordinarily frivolous. But, you know, enjoyable. But anyway, so the way I react to having been very poor is that I find it quite hard to enjoy spending money frivolously.
As one of the great joys of having money was that you were able to provide for your mum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she found it impossible to, you know, I mean, it's that whole thing where, you know, no, I can buy you anything, Mum. What would you like? Oh, you know those individual tissue packets?
Yes.
Seriously, those little wrapped up tissues. That's what she wanted.
Yeah.
Because they were always like, you wouldn't do that. You
No,
know?
that's frivolous.
And I couldn't make her you know.
Yeah. Yeah. But you knew that you gave her a degree of comfort that she wouldn't have had.
Yes.
Which is a really neat feeling.
But, then they go, they die, and you think, shit, I could have done so much more. I should have made her do this. I should have made her. I mean, probably if I have any regrets in my life, it's that I couldn't have one more good year with my mother, because there's so much you would do. And even when I knew she was on her last legs, you still look at your watch and think, oh, shit, I could be anywhere but here. Do you know what I mean? And you go, I would go and visit her. And honestly, no one could love anyone more than I love my mother. You'd go in and visit her and you'd be planning the exit strategy as you're walking up. She'd go, oh, and you'd be thinking, shit, how long is this going to take?
Yeah. Yeah.
And usually the first thing I would say to my mother when I saw her is, now I can't stay long.
No, I know. I do that.
Yeah. Is your mum still alive?
Yeah, so Dad passed away.
Don't do it.
Early. So the other week she sort of said, it's like you're in and then you're out. And so, I went in and we played cards for 2 hours.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah,
2 hours.
You're right.
God, that's God's work.
But you're right. And it was but I thought, no, I've got to do something.
Have you ever played Monopoly Deal with her?
No.
It's fantastic.
Really?
It is fantastic. Has she got her mind?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then she could learn the rules. No, Monopoly Deal, fantastic. She'll love it.
Oh, see, there's advice.
There's advice.
Hey, that's out there. You talked about being fired from the TVNZ. What I remember is like 2 weeks earlier, you giving the funniest speech I'd ever heard at the Media Awards. It wasn't that long beforehand, and Pippa was pregnant and leaving again.
Oh, that was when I impregnated by a husband.
Yes.
I remember I said a recidivist in that department.
And you read letters from people who'd written saying what an arsehole you are.
Yeah.
Which just absolutely cracked me up.
Yeah. I didn't realise that those awards were being televised, and I said the C word.
You did.
At the end of the letter.
Yeah.
And I had no idea they were being, because I don't like awards, and I had no idea they were being, although I would like to be knighted, but I don't like awards. And,
well, you wouldn't be able to say the C.
No.
Which is all right.
You haven't been knighted either.
No. Labour haven't done that for me since I left politics.
Weird, eh?
Weird.
Yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah. Okay, how's the gin going?
Good. Oh, it's a bit slow at the moment. I think a lot of things are a bit slow.
Yeah.
I think people are buying, and I hate to say this, cheap gin at the moment. Oh, God.
And it is, and we haven't had a summer, and we're in the middle of winter, and
we
the
haven't had a summer.
Hot. So is it?
I don't know that we can be so sure this is the middle of winter either. It may go a lot longer than that.
Where is it sold? New Zealand.
Thank you so much for asking. Glengarry's and online, and it's sold in Liquorland. Some Liquorlands have it. It's called the Henry, and I'm bringing out. This summer, I'm bringing out Wild Cherry. It's beautiful.
Oh,
it is
like
beautiful.
That.
And the quality of the gin is not compromised by the flavour of the gin, which so often it is. This is absolute top quality gin. I hope you've tried it.
Yes.
Have you tried the watermelon? God, it's so beautiful.
I haven't.
It is so beautiful.
And would you just have that with soda or tonic?
Or you could have it neat, just poured over one large ice cube.
Okay.
As you sit back and bemoan the fact that once you were important.
Once I was interesting.
Once I had a career.
Okay, we're going to take a short break and then we're going to come back, and it's time that we got into the advice segment of the podcast. All right, now we're getting to the advice segment, Paul, and we're going to talk about how to live authentically, because you are who you are. And actually,
but am I?
Because then we are going to talk a bit about traitors
and
liars and how to do that, because I'm quite looking forward to that bit. But you are someone who seems supremely confident. And that comes across with you. And I just think there are people out there that are, as we've just said, kind of struggling in this world and in this country right now to find out who they are and how they fit and what they do. What's your advice on how to have that level of confidence? Is it something you were born with?
I think, no, it's not something I was born with, but I was fortunate to have parents that, one, my father, who wasn't a great father, in terms of being a father, but he was very positive because he was an adventurer. He operated outside of the norms, and I could feel very proud that he was my dad.
Yeah.
And he sort of made me a seer, broader vision, because he was so broader vision through his actions. And then I had a mother who was extraordinarily narrow vision in her own life and threatened by everything, but who fell over herself because she didn't want me to be like that, telling me from the day I could understand the English language that I could be anyone I wanted to be, that I was as good as anyone. So I was fortunate that I was instilled with this belief, to the point that when I was living in this, poverty-stricken world, I just knew that wasn't my future. I knew that this was some little sort of bizarre little test, and all these people around me who all came from richer families than mine. I mean, it was very poor, but they were all poor. But I knew that these people were all losers, and I was the star of the bunch, even although, I was wearing all these old clothes and, schlepping along, and reasonably stupid at school. I mean, I was certainly not a star performer, didn't work particularly hard, but I didn't need to because I knew I was destined for brilliance.
Because you had that confidence. So, I mean, you call it completely as you see it. And then did your parents obviously not encourage that? I could imagine that your mother thought it was funny. You must have been inappropriate even as a child in your views.
My father wasn't around, and I mean, I just muddled through. But you know what? I've always been able to think, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And when you're being bullied at school, and I was bullied quite a lot because I looked weird. I was the kid in the school in the middle of winter in England that came from the mother who was working treble shifts in a plastic bag factory, couldn't afford shoes, so I had an old pair of sandals. I'd walk through the snow to school in an old pair of sandals, and they called me Jesus.
You had sandals?
Exactly. You were able to walk? What? But they called me Jesus boots. That was and they was persecuted bitterly. And I used to think to myself, I can remember walking in there and thinking, oh, here we go again. Jesus Boots is about to arrive at school. And I used to think, but what's the worst that can happen? I mean, I might even be beaten up today, but actually, it's only for a few more years.
So that is amazing that the world's not going to end. It's all going to be all right. You've been through such big things. And so people taking that on board, there's those people that all they think about is what's going to go wrong in life, right?
Yeah. But if they think, well, what actually is the worst that can happen? Like people used to say, when I started out in television, oh, you're nervous. And I used to say no, because I know nerves won't help me, even though a little frisson of nervousness can be helpful. But I used to think, I'm not... there aren't 400 people sitting behind me who will die if I make a mistake.
Yeah. It's not brain surgery.
The worst thing is I'm going to... Do you know, people say that, but... no, brain surgery's tricky. No, that's right. Because, there are two of them. There's the people say it's not brain surgery, or they say it's not rocket science.
Rocket science.
Do you know, rocket science is really basic.
Fire under something and shoot it.
It's at the very easy end of physics. People say it's not rocket science, and I always say it's a lot bloody harder than rocket science. But it's not harder than brain surgery, because you're right. If you're tinkering in someone's head and...
make a mistake, it's not great.
Exactly. But whereas you make a mistake on television, worst case scenario, I used to think, I'll make a fool of myself.
Yeah. So I call it Plan B, and mine was cleaning someone else's bathroom, probably badly, with my daughter. I knew it would give me an extra $25 that week, which meant that we could go to a movie the following day. And I thought, you know what? If this is as bad as it gets, we're okay.
So you would clean someone else's bathroom so that you could go to a movie?
Yeah. With my daughter, because I didn't have any money.
No.
And then it meant
that not like so you could eat, but so you could go to a movie.
Yeah, so I could have something extra for her. Yeah. You know what I mean? We could barely survive on what we had, but then to have something extra. Anyway, my whole thing was, well, why don't I take a risk? Why don't I actually put myself out there? Because the worst that'll happen is I'll end up here. And this is okay. Yeah. It's not great, but it's okay. A bit like you, what's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
I'm going to end up here.
Everyone is risk adverse. I mean, I'm risk, but they have a different threshold for risk. But everyone is risk adverse, and I'm surprised how risk adverse I am now. But I think part of that is because
is it risk adverse or a bit lazy?
Care, I don't. And people say, people come to me with investments and things like that. Oh, do you want to invest in that? And I usually think, oh no, I don't. Well, the last person, someone's telling me about one the other day. The guy put 60,000 and made 6 million. And, over several years. And I thought, oh, good for him.
Yeah.
Nice. I just don't think I can be bothered.
Yeah. So that's, you can't be bothered rather than risk averse as such. Yeah. So you choose what you do for the enjoyment, for the excitement of it? Is there a buzz?
Yeah, and sometimes for the ease. Sometimes for the... Because I'm getting on. I know I don't look it, but I find myself thinking old. Not old, but thinking slightly differently sometimes.
A bit more conservatively.
A bit more conservatively and a bit less... I'll see people do things and I'll think, whereas a few years ago I would have been completely outraged and I would go over and readjust them, read them the riot act, and I just look at it and I think, oh, God.
So did you have that nagging voice in your head that would tell you to shut up at any time or not say that? Because
No, but there were times when you think, shit, are we really doing this, Paul? Are we really going to finish this sentence?
Yeah.
But I always did.
Yeah.
And then you think, yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, we are.
Yeah.
And I'd always justify it, instant justification. Like, you're reading out what someone has written into the program. And as you're reading the words, you're thinking, shit, God. And you keep reading it. And I thought, I'm just reading what we invited people to write in, and they've written in, and I'm just reading it out.
Said.
This is what they've said. And it's not, I always had this view as an interviewer, that it's not the interviewer's job to question the validity of the answers.
Yeah.
It's the interviewer's job to get the answers. It's the audience's job to question the validity of those answers, Yeah. And I used to think that with, you'd read something out or you'd say something, you'd say, well, the audience can decide. But if I choose not to read this out, I'm not giving them the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And do you think that we've got that cancel culture and we filter too much now? Because it's worse and worse and worse, right?
We do. I mean, it's just... People are just, like I say, people now in this country think, I can't be bothered to tell people what I think about that.
And even on radio and things like that, as you say, it's not even necessarily the person giving their own opinion. It's them reading out someone else's, and we've seen them get cancelled and all the rest of it. And it's like, well, really?
And then you've got advertisers who will then... refuse very publicly to advertise on a program because of some view that's been expressed, because they are fearful, because of their customers alienating them because they were seen to be advertised. And you think, my God, are we all reacting through fear? So none of us are living our real lives because we're constantly checking ourselves. Oh.
Yeah, I agree.
I arrived back in the country yesterday, and I was at the airport, and this guy turns around and says to me in a queue of people waiting to do something, he turns around and he says, oh my God, you should be back on. We need someone to come back on. Because it's all good. And I said, well, there's no point. There's nothing I can do about it. Just another voice saying something very briefly isn't going to achieve anything. I said, you could say something. And he said, oh no, I can't be bothered. I said, neither can I.
Yeah.
It's a slippery slope.
It's so true.
That's what my mother went. It's a slippery slope.
How much time do you spend in Palm Springs?
I'd like to spend more.
Yeah.
But then, I'm there for a while and I think, oh yeah, it is time for me to go.
And is that because of the weather and you're in your nudist, what do we call it? It's not an...
Do you know, I haven't got that, because obviously in our mind we immediately call it a nudist colony.
Yes, and you've told me not to in the past.
But it's not a colony, and that implies some kind of freakish...
Yeah. Ritual
weird
thing.
Sort of ritualistic thing. And it obviously goes on.
Stop it.
No, it doesn't. It's just an enclave. But even that, what am I getting at? It's just a nudist. Yeah, it's weird. I've never quite worked it out.
No. Do you? Would your advice be to people to give it a go? I mean, what's the thing
my
about
advice
being naked?
Whether you're talking about nudism or anything, my advice would always be give it a go. Not in New Zealand, because there will never be another day in New Zealand when it's worth taking your clothes off.
No, we've lost that weather.
I went through the last faux summer and
it was awful.
But
and
yeah,
is it the freedom? I don't know. I mean,
yes,
people
it is
are genuinely
freedom.
interested.
It is freedom, but it's hard to. You can't put it in words. It's one of those things you just have to do. And when you do it, you realise all kinds of things are not as you thought they would be. Like the concerns that you might have taking off all your clothes in front of strangers and just living, you realise that actually none of those concerns were valid because none of the preconceptions are real. So you just do it, and it's extremely liberating.
Yeah.
And it depends. I'm not a naturist. naturists think that you should do everything naked, and there are some things that clearly clothes are good for.
Yeah.
One is warmth.
Yeah.
And two, protection. I mean, I know people, naturists.
You wouldn't want to be frying that bacon.
Walking through the bloody desert naked.
Yeah. And you wouldn't want to be frying that bacon.
No, you wouldn't want to be. No. A good point. And people standing at the barbecue, doing hot things.
Yeah.
Spitting things. But no, it's a lovely way to live. So I spend about maybe 3 months a year there on and off, maybe more, some years more.
Okay. So do you think that all of us can channel our inner Paul Henry?
To one degree or another, yes. Everyone can do it if you want to do it. I mean, it's hard because some people are in genuinely, tricky positions where they can't be who they want to be exactly because they have certain pressures, financial pressures or other family pressures or things like that. But within the scope of what life has dealt you, yes, you can improve your position by changing your attitude.
Yeah. But even you talking about, we talk about you being your authentic self, which is a bit of a statement. But, when I now reflect back at my 15 years in politics, and I would like to think that I was true to who I was and all the rest of it. But of course I censored myself. Of course I was, and I had to, right? Because, and a bit different for me, it was like if I stuffed up, actually it's not just me on the front page of the paper, it's John Key having to talk about it for the next 2 weeks as well. My actions affected, my colleagues and people that I did care about, but then equally the country, right? So I had to censor myself at some
But we do
level.
have different versions of ourselves, all of us. Like depending on if that door opened now, we would change the way we respond based on who it is that comes in. And that's perfectly natural. So we're not exactly the same person in every single environment.
And that's just actually being an adult, isn't it?
That's one of the great joys with children, that wonderful naivety.
Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it wonderful? Okay, we're going to do a second advice segment, which we've never done before.
Wow.
But it's got to be the Traitors and, because of the show. So what do you think the key to deception is?
In general, not necessarily because of the show.
The
show is very tricky. I mean, people
let's not worry about
isolated away, and one of the secrets with the show is being able to rationalise what your new forced life is for the next few weeks. But in general, the trick with lying is to involve as much truth as you possibly can. So construct a framework around your lie, which is entirely truthful. Yeah. And it makes it it makes it much easier to lie because you're bouncing off the truth. So, so say you went away for the weekend, you're being questioned because you disappeared for a weekend. Yeah. So construct a weekend that really did happen.
Yeah, and
lie about that rather than fabricate some totally different world.
My grandson completely and utterly fabricates massive stories that are absolute rubbish.
But do you always know that they're absolute rubbish?
Well, I do, because they're just completely ridiculous. That, you know what I mean? Like he went to the All Blacks game.
How old is he?
8, and got taken onto the field, and he then goes into absolute description.
I love that.
I do too. See, I just love it, and it just gives me so much joy.
That's the magic of childhood.
Yeah.
Because he probably doesn't think for a moment that anyone won't believe him.
Yeah. Not so much now, to be honest. It was more 5 or 6. He was very good.
Well, do you know that before a child is 3, it is impossible to lie. It is impossible for a child, and obviously because children develop at slightly different stages, it varies, but 3 is the general term. It is actually impossible because of the development of the brain for them to lie. They imagine that every single person knows everything up until 3.
Yeah. Okay, so a good lie has got elements of truth.
Yeah. Right? Well, it should be structured around truth.
Yeah. Would you have made a good traitor?
See, and I never would have gone into the show as a contestant.
No.
You
didn't ask me, by the way.
Cast member. No. But who knows next time? I would have made good at anything if I'd committed to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I could do anything. it is in the show harder for the traitors.
Yeah.
There is more chance that you will win money if you're a traitor, but it is a harder road to hoe if you're a traitor.
So what's the key to picking up a liar in general life, not on the show? So
this is assuming that
you
you have no knowledge of the person that's lying at all. You know nothing about them. Because obviously it's very different if you know about them, because you can pick up irregularities.
So if I just sat here and went to you, oh my God, I saw John Key last night and he actually offered for me to go into a massive investment scheme and I spin you this whole line.
Yep.
How would you know that I might be lying?
I imagine he did do that last night. Because he did the same to me.
Oh, there you go. I didn't, by the way. But is there elements? How do you pick up a lie?
Well, the beginning of it is, I mean, and we're assuming that I don't know you at all, because the first thing is this the typical sort of thing you'd say, have you been caught out over something like this before? But assuming I don't know you at all, you would think, how likely is it that all of this is true versus part of it is true versus none of it is true? Like, so for instance, maybe you did meet this person last night, you did see them last night, so again, your lie has been fabricated around the truth, and you've just exaggerated so completely that it is a lie, one aspect of it.
Yeah.
So you were at a function and John Key was at the function, you didn't talk to him or anything like that, but it was all there. So if someone questions you on the lie, there are so many things you can say.
Yeah.
You know what he was wearing, you know where he was, you know what the environment was, so you can easily get away with that lie. Whereas if you had entirely fabricated and actually last night you didn't even go out, it all becomes a lot harder.
Do you know how I still feel sorry for is often first-time ministers in government, and I tell you, and because people go, they're lying, and it's when you're getting used to the media and them swarming you and asking you questions, you don't know what questions you're going to get more often than not, so it does, and you actually pause and they think about it, and I know I did this, and you know what is actually going on in their heads most of the time, or in my experience, is I'm thinking, I know the answer to that, but do I know the answer to that because I read it in a confidential cabinet paper? Or do I know it because I read it in the Herald this morning? And, you know, and you get better at that, right? Like, so, and you get better at it very quickly. But for that first few weeks, you're not lying, but you slightly look it because your eyes go up.
Well, and then, of course,
hesitate.
you fear about the fact that you know you look like you're lying.
Yeah.
And there's that whole second guessing thing, which is always a mistake. Like, I know it. Shall I answer it straight away, or shall I look like I'm considering the question first? Or should I do, which is the greatest skill if you can do it well, which is repeat the question, because that buys you time.
Yeah. And
it's a wonderful thing to do. Or use the line, you've got to be careful you don't use this too many times, the little buying time moments like, now that is a really good question. And if you do that slowly enough, you can buy 10, 15 seconds.
And what you're really doing is
the little men inside there, and they are, I
head.
think, little men. The little men in there are just going through cabinets and shuffling drawers and
or
just
like
trying to work
Oompa
out. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, or like the Oompa Loompas or whatever they were.
Yeah.
Hey, working their little, pulling that drawer out and working out where that bit of information is.
There was a guy on TV, I can't remember what the program was in England that I used to watch when I was very young, and Michael Benteen, I think, was the host. Very clever man, very funny, and he used to stand there and he had these characters that used to be on the bench in front of him, and they were just like hair, and they used to shuffle around going, and he'd do this whole thing. And on the last show, he said, I've received so many letters from you saying, are they real? You know, are they completely real? And this was the last show. And he said, and I'm going to be entirely honest with you now, they're not. They're operated from under the desk. And I thought, how could you do this? How could you destroy it? And he went round the front and he opened the curtain, and underneath there were all these tiny little hairy characters operating rods. So it was a whole nother collection of these little hairy characters running around inside the desk, operating the big ones.
Oh,
it was fantastic.
That is fun.
That's
See, I
magic.
was going to say, I thought he took the magic away.
Exactly. But what he did, he
nice...
just doubled down on the magic.
I love that. Okay, well, this is the part of this podcast where it's called Ask Me Anything. So this gives you an opportunity, if you would like. You don't have to, she says nervously.
How can I not?
You may ask me something.
Okay, so here's my Paula.
Yes, Paul.
As you look back on your political career, which is in the past.
Yes.
Do you think you actually made a lasting difference to the betterment of New Zealand?
For some New Zealanders, yes.
Lasting?
Yeah.
What was that?
Got a whole lot of women and their children off welfare and into work, and they just had much bigger and better lives.
Which has made a permanent difference to them.
To them. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not going to pretend I did New Zealand a great service.
Yep.
Teen Mums was the other one. So one of the things I got was I got funding and helped for the long-lasting contraceptive, and that helped some that didn't have choice or money, that they could delay pregnancy and actually have a choice, right? And I know that having a baby at 17 like I did is undoubtedly one of the hardest things, and every bit of research says, being a bit older, a bit better educated, having some work experience and being in a stable relationship, you are more likely to raise a better adapted children and have a bigger life. So I know that I helped there as well.
That's great.
So,
and it was worth it for that.
Yeah.
Because that is an entirely lasting benefit to those people that you benefited.
I met a woman the other day, and she is very senior, and she said to me, "You're the reason I threw in my job and went to university and got a law degree, and now I'm on $400,000 a year and I'm running a team of 100 people."
Downside, she is a lawyer.
But she's not actually working as one, which is interesting. But that's
Isn't that
the degree
interesting?
she did.
Because the world needs another lawyer like we need another dictator.
But she was a solo mum. And
that's fantastic.
For her, it was seeing someone that she thought was real.
Inspirational.
So I do get to say that, I
Brilliant.
suppose.
No, that's good. Great answer. Great answer, Paula, and I want to thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me. And thank you, Paul, for joining me today.
Thank you.
Yes. And it's been great to see you. Enjoy the show, because I think we are all going to enjoy the travels and what you're doing, and just enjoy life.
Thank you. I think the show will be phenomenally successful.
Yeah.
Because it is just such a good format.
Well, I loved it. Yeah. I loved it. So you can all catch Paul hosting the Traitors New Zealand. It starts on 3 from Monday, 7 August. It is very addictive, as you say, and well worth watching. Gin fans, go and get the Henry, if you're keen for a little tipple, and give it a try, and look out for the new one that's coming out this summer. And that's a wrap on season 3 of Ask Me Anything. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for your feedback. I really do appreciate it. If you have any thoughts on the podcast, feel free to get in touch by emailing askpaula@nzherald.co.nz. I would also love you to follow the podcast on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts. We'll be back with season 4 later this year. In the meantime, you can read my weekly column in the Herald on Sunday, where I do speak my mind. But I'm Paula Bennett. Ask Me Anything. Goodbye.